Hello and welcome to my sewing room. My name is Kelly Williams. Today I'm going to show you a new project that I've created just for this upcoming Easter season. It's hanging right behind me and it's the Hippity Hoppity Garland. The carrot and the bunnies are both created using felt that are stitched together and then stuffed with batting. And the little bunnies feature this adorable fluffy pom-pom tail, and the tail is created using yarn. Pretty sure you have the tool that you will need to create it, a household fork. So let's get started creating this adorable project. I am so excited to show you how to create these. So to get started, you're going to need some felt in various colors. You'll need to print out the template, cut out so it's ready to trace around with a pencil and get to this stage right here. So felt, trace around, and then cut out. So once you have these all cut out, you will need 2 per each item. So each carrot will need 2 of the body or the root and 2 of the chard or the leafy part, and then 2 bunnies. Once you have those, I'm going to start with the carrot. So to get started, you'll need your carrot pieces, 2 carrot pieces, and the 2 leafy pieces. Let's get started with the carrot. So the carrot, you're going to want to take the leafy piece and fold it in half. And then you will pin with the short side. So if you can see this is the short side. Pin the short side to the middle. It will butt up against the second piece. You want it to look like this. So what you're going to do is you're going to stitch right here, and then you'll stitch about 1/8 away from the edge just to tack those down. Now, in the next step, you want to fold these leaves out so they're kind of out and away, but you really don't want to stitch them down into this area. You just want to hold them up. So you'll see what I did in the next step here, where I've stitched just along the top there, just about 1/8. So that attaches the 2 leaves at the top. So the next step is you're going to start stitching about 1/4 inch below, because you have to leave space for you to insert the twine to hang. Start about 1/4 inch down, stitch all the way around, but leave yourself about 1.5 inch gap on this side, as you can see right here. And the reason you want to do that is because we're going to add the batting. So from here, you'll want to make sure that you backstitch here and you backstitch here, because you're going to stuff with batting. Now, don't overstuff. It makes it very difficult for you to go in and finish this little area right here. Now, remember, you're going to leave that 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch space right below so that you're able to thread the twine or ribbon or whatever through that opening. You can see that I've done that, completed it here. So the way you're going to stuff the opening, and you'll just take some batting and you'll just stuff it right in here. And you can use that purple thing, works really great to stuff it in there. And you'll want it to be about this plump, as you can see. I've gone in, so once you stuff it, you'll pin the batting out of the way like this. Just stitch right back down in here, right there. All right, so this is a completed one. You'll see that this opening is still here. Your leaves are really fluffy. This is the front side. So from here, you're done. You just create as many as you want. Now you'll see that I used pinking shears to outline this carrot shape. I liked that it gave that bumpy texture that you see on a carrot. However, you're welcome to leave it just like this or change it. Also, I will note that I used navy thread just so it was very visible. So if you do want to do pinking shears, you may want to, instead of about 1/8 inch seam, which is about what I did on this, you may want to do more like a 1/4 inch seam like that. And I can show you how you would do that. You're just gonna trim along the edge like this, pretty close to the edging, and then as you're trimming, you're going to want to realign that little V. So you go all the way around to create your carrot. As you can see, I just did one side. Create your carrot, and now we're going to move on to creating that fun little bunny. Create the bunny. I'm going to show you first if you're not wanting to do the pom-poms. If you do not want to do pom-poms and you want to do something else, you could always purchase pom-poms like these right here, which look really cute. You could just glue them on with hot glue or a fabric glue. Another option would be using a button for a little tail, which I think would look adorable. You could use a four-ball button, you could use this shank button, you could use a flower button. There are a star button, so many different options. You could mix and match the color. If you want to do something else, those are some options you could use. If you would prefer to do the pom-pom, I would love to show you how to do that. To get started, you will need a fork, and you're going to need some yarn here. There's a variety of different yarns you can use. I imagine it would work on all. Some of them that have different fibers will fluff up a little bit more than others, but in general, for the most part, this is just standard yarn. You're going to start by placing the yarn and holding it with the hand that you're going to hold the fork with, and then you're going to start wrapping around, and you want to do maybe 6 loops. I'm not really going to count right now as we're doing this, but I will talk to you about it. It's actually really fun and very therapeutic, I feel like, to do this. So you're going to keep wrapping and wrapping, and then eventually eventually, when you get to about 50 or 60, I think 60 is better, it makes it fluffy, you will end up with loops looking like this. So you're gonna take this piece and you're gonna grab it one more time and then hold it there. So I have scissors here. I'm gonna cut the end, and then I'm gonna cut one more piece of yarn that's about, let's say, 10 inches long. And I'm going to insert it into this middle fork opening. And in this case, if you're having trouble getting it through there, you certainly could use a yarn needle. You could use that purple thing to insert it in there. You could use the dental flosser thing. So you're gonna insert it in, and now you have this loop here. You're gonna take and you're gonna tie it in a knot. And you want this to be really tight because this is what's gonna hold the pom-pom together. So you wanna make sure that you have it as tight as you can. So I start to slide it off, and then I will tighten it. So you can see that I've tightened this here, and I will tighten it one more time. And sometimes if I feel like it's really not that tight, I will loop it around once more. Now, not to confuse you, I'm gonna go ahead and trim these because I don't want them to become confusing for you. I'm going to wrap this around once more and show you how I just twist it right over where it was wrapped before. And then I will knot it on the opposite side in the same manner, but just tightening down as much as you can. The one thing that I've learned through this is that if it is not really tight, when you go to make it a really fluffy ball, because yarn is not very big, it sometimes wants to pull out, and then you just have random small cuts of yarn, and you don't want that. All right, so now that I've tightened this really well, I'm going to take a very small pair of scissors and go underneath the loop like this and just start cutting. And you want to make sure that you cut all of those loops, excluding the one that's holding everything together, which is the tied one. So you'll just work your way around, making sure to cut through all of them, and you'll be able to tell if there's a loop remaining. So you can see that I've cut all the way around. I'll go back and make sure there aren't any more loops in there for those smaller ones, but it's not really looking like a pom-pom yet, is it? So you will keep doing this all the way around, and it's looking kind of crazy here. So I'm going to pull out another one that's also at this stage, and you can see they both look a little bit crazy and squarish, not really very shaped very well. So you're going to come in, and the trick to doing a really good pom-pom is to make sure that you are not afraid to trim it down. So when it's trimmed down, it makes the fiber appear a lot more uniform into a ball shape. So you'll see that there are some that are just straggly over here. So you're just going to keep trimming until it's more of a round shape. Now, if you trim too much, just make another one. It happens. I did it as I was working on these. I did it a couple times and I was like, oh, that's a bummer. Now I got to start again. I'm going to show you one that I've already trimmed up a little bit, and this one is a little bit more round. However, one little trick that I learned was if you take a little child's brush or any type of fiber brush and you fluff up the fibers, it truly does unravel them essentially, so that it makes it into a really, really fluffy ball. So this is a completed one. You'll still have this tie, and you will need to keep this because that is how you will attach it to your bunny. So to attach to your bunny, you will, I'm just going to show you on this yellow one. So basically the way that I figured to put each bunny tail is I folded it so that the feet were around the neck area, and then I just found the central location and I made 2 clips, and I did one here. So there are my 2 little slits. So then I will take my bunny and I will insert thread into the little slit. And again, if you are struggling to get this to pull into the little slit, you certainly can use a tapestry needle or some other tool. So now you have the bunny, the 2 threads, and then this piece of fabric there in between. So you're just going to knot, and the fabric's really going to hold and stabilize the pom-pom. The remaining part of the bunny, the stitching portion, the edging portion, which I didn't mention this, however, a blanket stitch would look really adorable, especially if you decided you wanted to do this maybe by hand or with some decorative stitches on your machine, would look very nice. A zigzag would also look very nice. There are a lot of options. You could do a contrast thread, you could do a top stitching thread, you could come back in with some embroidery floss, and you could do some detailed stitching if you wanted. Anyhow, once your bunny is completed like this, then you will start to create the bunny just as you did a carrot. So you'll start up at the top, just below the ear, and you're going to stitch around the ears, and I can show you that on this sample right here. You'll stitch around the bunny ears there, back stitching both places, and then you'll stitch all the way around, leaving this gap right here. This gap at the bottom is where you're going to insert the stuffing. So you'll just open it like that and then start batting into the opening, just as you did the carrot, and you can fill it to your desired amount, as full as as you want it, just keeping in mind that you are going to have to stitch back that bottom part. Now, if you're going to do it by hand, you probably could fill it a lot more, but it does make a little plump little bunny regardless of even with just a little bit, and I love the dimension it gives. So once you have stuffed it, just like we did on the carrot, you will take, and I'm going to put a pin right here to hold it together, and then you're going to go and you're going to stitch right to right here, back stitching between. Leave these openings, and that's how you're going to insert the twine or ribbon. One other thing I'd like to mention is I chose on a couple of them after I had cut out so many to just cut out the top layer of the bunnies, and then I stitched everything, and I wanted to show you how I did that. So I stitched around everything, leaving the base layer just a larger square than the shape, and then after that I went back in with either the pinking shears or with just scissors, and I trimmed around it following the top shape. So you could do it either way. I think this is easier because then you're not having to be so particular on the two layers aligning, especially at the ears, because those can be a little bit tricky. After you've completed all of your bunnies and all of your carrots, to complete this, all you're going to do is use something like this or a small safety pin, and you're just going to insert different options of, this is just spaghetti bias if you wanted to use in a couple different prints, or you could do the twine just like I did, like this, and I will show you how you can insert that. I'm going to use that purple thing, insert it like that, and I'm just going to insert into the opening. There you go, like that. And then you'll just insert your bunnies in whatever order you want. Was this not a quick and easy project? You can hang it like this. Keep it on your banister, hang it on your wall, or display it on your dining room table as the centerpiece of your Easter celebration. I hope you enjoyed this project.